Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another one of our podcasts, number 15 of Phil's Antarctic Adventures. This week, or this month, depending on where you're looking at this show from, we're looking at the mad machines used by the crazy guys down in Antarctica during the winter solstice of 1976. That's correct.
You got it right.
Okay. Over to you, Phil. Now, what kind of vehicles did we have down in the base at Mawson?
We had a huge variety, Pete.
Good variety, yes.
Yes. And a lot of them, we had, say, 4 skidoos. Skidoos were snowmobiles, but commonly called skidoos, even though it's a brand name.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 dog teams.
Yes.
We had covered vehicles, tracked vehicles. We had an open top one, which was called a snow track. We had another closed-top one called the mole mink, and another slightly larger and older covered vehicle called a weasel.
Oh, weasel.
Weasel.
Plus the bulldozers.
We had 3 D5 bulldozers that were used for towing sleds hundreds of kilometres.
They're the main way of getting around and bringing all the summer guys to their locations, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was fuel dumps, supply dumps, all that sort of thing are done during the winter. They're also used for general purpose around the base wherever required. We also had a smaller D4.
And when you say small, is it like half the size of it, or is it just like a little baby one?
Well, that's a little baby one.
Okay.
No, it wasn't it. It's still a large bulldozer, but a lot smaller than the D5s.
All right, so basically the bulldozers were general purpose, but their main reason for having them is to take these big expeditions off. Would they have literally started off maybe a month before the expeditions get there to sort of start locating themselves?
Yes, they do.
So because they don't go that fast, do they?
No, they're very slow.
Yeah.
But they get there.
Eventually.
There's 2 Travises. The second one was a big one that was to supply Mount King, hundreds of kilometres further to the west. We've talked about that in the past.
Mm. So would they have usually taken two bulldozers at one time? So you've got one if one gets
3.
Oh, 3. Okay, in one hit.
Yes.
Yeah, in case one falls down a crevasse.
Yes, we'll get to that.
I know. But all right. So these are the main heavy vehicles they use. So the smaller vehicles were just used for general purpose, running around the place.
Yeah, well, there was the skidoos. Those covered vehicles were used on the Travises sometimes and around the general Mawson area for what we call little jollies.
Now, when you call it traverse, what's that mean? That's just describe that for the viewer.
That's the long one that goes to supply the summer base.
And what would be the range you go on that? Is it like you're saying 100 kilometres for one?
I think it was something like 600, something like that.
Okay, so that's a massive
big
run.
trip. Yeah.
When you've got a bulldozer that does like 5 kilometres an hour or something silly like that. So they've got to be off for weeks at a time just to get there.
Yes. I think for that long one they set off, was it August, September, something like that, to be in time for the summer. So some of the personnel from the base were sent out there and they were stuck there until the summer crew came.
Well, that's what you call an isolated drive, isn't it?
It
You
was.
literally drive,
Yeah.
you just turn it on, hit the compass, and just head that direction for a day and a half, and they go and sleep in the caravan-y thing at the back.
Yep.
Wow.
Meanwhile, they set up all the caravans. There were caravans already out there, so they had to set it all up, get everything working.
So they're just like holiday makers, and they just walk in with the helicopters, and everything's set up for them, and it's really kind of cool. I mean, that's what you realise when you talk about these things, that the winter crew is basically there to set up for the summer madness.
It was probably half and half. That was one purpose of the base, and the other one was for the ongoing scientific work that happened at the base right throughout the year. But we haven't got to the fun machines.
Yeah, well, that's what I literally was going to push into the next
Ask me about
level.
the fun machines.
Okay, so obviously when you're down there, you've got a lot of time on your hands, especially during those dark months, and you're a very inventive bunch of blokes. Obviously, you're going to be building and making crazy, wacky machines, as you'll see in some of the pictures. Well, give us an example of a few of them.
Okay. There was a sailboat. We've got 3 sleds and a sail, like a triangle base, mast, and you'd sail over the ice.
Must be quite exciting.
It was.
Did you ever do it?
I didn't bother.
Okay.
Our
One down.
cadre physicist Neil MacDonald bothered though,
Oh.
until one day the boom swung around and concussed him, I think.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I got hit by a storm once, and basically the boom hit me in the face, bang, broke my nose, and I had 2 black eyes, looked like a panda for like 3 weeks. It wasn't funny.
Yeah, I can't remember what he looked like, but he wasn't feeling the best for a little while.
Anyway, we digress. So a sailing,
Sailing boat.
thing. Oh, that sounds like exciting stuff for a weekend sail.
Yes. There was a conventional motorbike down there.
That's what surprised. What would you bring a motorbike down there for?
I don't know, years ago they did. And it actually turned out to be useful at times.
Yeah.
And it was a great recreational vehicle.
Did it have like spikes in the wheels to get the grip? No. So I think you told me that you basically they just dug it out of the snow.
No, that was another one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
There was a second one, a sort of a trike thing that had been cobbled together years before. And the Dizos found it under a pile of snow, dug it out, patched it all up, got it working. And now some of the blokes, they love roaring around on this thing. On the odd times when it actually worked, it was always breaking down.
So that's the sort of crazy things. They'd be spending hours and days and nights trying to get this thing back together. And the diesels mechanics, I suppose that's a bit of a challenge for them, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
To rebuild it,
Yes.
get it ready.
They enjoyed themselves getting these things working.
Okay, so
What
we've
else?
got a motorbike, we've got a tricycle, trike, and we've got a sailing boat. Any others?
I forgot the Jeep, which was just general purpose around the base.
Like an American Jeep?
I suppose so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, occasionally it would get flipped over in a blizzard and pulled back up on its wheels, and these things happen. Kept on working, that's the main thing.
Okay, so are these using what, petrol or this special mix you've got, or just diesel?
Probably diesel, but I can't remember. I never drove the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have your license while you were at that time?
I had a license.
Okay, just checking, I'm not allowed to drive these cars.
Never had to use it down there, but I did have a license.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. We had the 2 dog teams, and we've
Yep.
talked a fair bit about the dogs and the shenanigans they got up to, so we won't go into that here. What else? Ice skates.
Oh, actual ice skates on feet.
Yes, those ones.
Okay.
That you put on your feet.
I think I read that you actually described the ice as salt ice, and that's not very good for ice skating. Is that correct?
That is correct when it first freezes over.
Right.
So what happened, those ice skates, there's a little adventure involving the bike and the ice skates. Ice had newly formed, covered Horseshoe Harbour and out to sea a bit.
Yep.
And we thought, right, out with the skates, nice smooth ice. Well, it had a salty sludge on, as you described.
On the surface.
On the surface.
All right.
It's just what happens when sea ice freezes.
Okay.
When sea water freezes, sorry. And skating was not much more than walking. Not much fun at all. So then our electrician Cole loved roaring around on the bike. And now that the ice was frozen, he loved it even more. He came up to us, to Gil and I, who were trying to get these skates working. He said,
So you look like a couple of demented penguins trying to get
something
these
like
skates
that.
working. All right,
Yeah. Except they could move faster. He said, would you like a tow? And we said, that sounds like a great idea.
Oh, famous last words, he says.
So, at the back of the bike, Gil grabbed one half, I grabbed the other side.
Okay, so this is the back little...
Yeah, there's a sort of a bar around the back.
Okay, so you're both hanging on.
Yeah.
And he just goes...
Now, I visualise he would just sedately go over the ice.
Yeah.
Because, it's newly formed ice, there was ice cracks through it. Cole roars off.
He roars off.
Roars off. And we're going full pelt and I'm getting faster and faster. Oh no. If that blade went down the tide crack, probably goodbye ankle.
I mean, literally,
Yeah.
pull it off.
So I know you think I was a reckless maniac down there.
He was a reckless maniac down there, but he continues.
He continues and he's here because occasionally he backed off. When it got to something like 50 kilometres an hour or something, I thought, that's it, I'll let go.
50 kilometres, pretty fast.
I know it was fast.
So couldn't you tell him to slow down? Or that was just an excuse for him to go, there I go, I'll go faster.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Did he have a
Plus the
muffler on the thing?
No, it was pretty noisy.
Yeah, I was going to say, he probably couldn't hear you.
He probably wouldn't have heard us. Anyway, Gil and Cole just kept on going the distance. So I thought, oh.
Hang on. Let's get to the point where you've let go at 50 kilometres an hour. How does that end?
There was no trouble. I just slowed down
Oh, you
very quickly.
just slowed down. You just didn't collapse.
I didn't collapse or anything, just slowed down. There was enough slippage in the ice that you didn't just go flat on your face.
So they're going to just completely fall apart. Okay, so they continue on.
So I survived that. A bit later, they came back, still in one piece. I just shook my head.
How's your legs, mate? Oh, they're fine. They're fine.
Gil just laughs it off. I think Cole did too. Yeah, that was one little adventure. I had another adventure with the ice skates.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. This was later in the year when the ice was nice and slippery. I thought, I'm going to go down the coast on the skates. That'll be fun. Would have been about, I don't know, October or somewhere in there. So off I went. Now, at that stage, you had all these husky pups hanging about the base. And they were so energetic. Whenever you went walking, they were running rings around you. Horrible little things. So they decided...
They're cute.
Yeah, they were. They decided I wasn't going to go on my own. They were going to follow me. And they did. And they ran up. They had a great time keeping up with me. Probably went about 5 kilometres down the coast, something like that, I think. And I thought, right, that'll do it. I'll head back. Turned around. Dogs kept following me. But about this time, they were dropping right behind. They had it.
Oh, poor old Phil. End up having to drag the dogs home. Because that's what you said before. You know, when the dogs have said, I've had enough, they just stop and they stop.
Well, that's the grown-up ones. These ones, they were smart enough. They were just little pups. They knew they needed me to get back. But the other thing is they didn't know how to look for drink.
Oh, for water, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to educate these pups. So I was out offshore a bit. So I had to go into shore where there's more likely to find some nice drift snow so they could eat it for their liquid. And so we did that a number of times. It was quite a long trip back because these dogs are getting slower and slower. Anyway, we did get back.
So you taught the dogs a lesson, how to eat snow.
Yeah.
Because didn't you say there's certain types of snow you've got to be careful of? Because
yellow snow.
Yellow snow. Well, yes, well, we know why it's yellow.
Yeah, and you're right. You don't want salty snow that'd make them. You certainly wouldn't want to be behind a dog that had salty snow.
Okay. So that's quite a lovely look where you've got all these puppies excitedly following you around and literally at the end going, please help us. Because my expectation was that you were literally going to have to carry them, a couple of them, in your arms to take them back.
If I'd gone much further down the coast, I might have ended up having to do that. But they did get back under their own steam, albeit slowly.
Did you take a survival pack with you just in case you had a bit of a blizzard or something like that?
I can't remember. Probably took
not.
something, a bit of food and drink. I would have taken some food and drink.
Yeah. All right, so that's another a really nice cameo. That one I really like that story. Any more crazy stuff? I think you were talking about the winter solstice.
Hang on, before we get to that.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun.
I forgot about the bathtub.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about, the bathtubs.
Now, every good Antarctic base should have a bathtub as a vehicle.
Oh,
wouldn't you expect?
Yes. Why would a bathtub be taken down to Antarctica? That's the underlying question. Why? Must be
there was a really good reason for that, but I don't know what it is, and I wouldn't have a clue.
Maybe some OIC saying, I must have a bath.
It could have been.
Yes.
So Gil and Gloom climbed in this thing to sail out. This was the last summer we were there. The Nella Dan was floating around.
So everybody can watch the movie.
Yeah, everybody can
basically
see it. Now, the water, with 2 people in, it came within an inch or so of the boat, the top of the tub. Anyway, I wasn't there, but I heard all about it. They didn't get very far. The thing started rocking. Over they went. If you're watching the video, there's a bit of a clip that Gil took, or Gil had someone take of him, where they went into the drink.
Well, I think the extraordinary thing is that it got a couple of guys, and they built this thing, and it sort of technically worked.
But anyway, that's what they did.
But that's the ingenuity. That's what I think I was impressed with, that ingenuity of the guys down there. They didn't just sort of loll back and they exhausted after that. They spent time building things. Deny them.
That's the sort of person they chose to go down there.
Back to the bath. 2 guys falling into the water. That's not a very healthy thing to do, is it? Because that water's damn cold.
Not healthy at all.
I mean,
fortunately, where they went over wasn't very deep.
oh, that's
So they could steep or whatever it was.
Looked
So
like,
they got slip over where it got up and drenched. And they had to, well, the first thing they'd have to do was go head into shore, get under a hot shower, change their clothes.
yeah, because you guys are pretty tough people. That's what I realised, that, you know, the things that you see out there, you normal people who come from a warmish environment would literally have frozen to death. But you guys have built in that resilience for after a long period of time being there.
We'd been down there for over 12 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were conditioned to the cold.
Yeah.
Even so, you treated that water as deadly if you didn't do something about it quick smart.
Because people they jump in those sort of waters, you know, that's the sort of, isn't the winter solstice madness, you know, cut a hole in the ice and just jump in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pure insanity.
Pure insanity.
You could stop your heart actually doing it.
Yeah, that's the craziness. Yeah. Okay, so we're moving on to the next one, is the Traverse.
The Traverse.
So that's the great epic adventures of taking all this equipment, hundreds, 600 miles to a location to set up for the summer.
There was a preliminary traverse we did, which only went 100 kilometres or something inland to set up some fuel dumps, and it was a test to make sure everything was working as it should.
Yeah.
So our OIC, Ian Teague, decided he wanted to be one of the drivers. All right, that's fair enough. And I think Jeff Morgan, our chief diesel mechanic, was probably the other. And they swapped around. Anyway, off they went. Now, the terrain around Mawson is particularly treacherous for crevices. Really bad. Our OIC was officer in charge, for those who don't know.
Got those technical.
Charging along, there was a crevice right in front. Didn't spot it because there's ice bridges over the top.